Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Pop Culture History Podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is Islanders fan, is the amazing, the lovely Miss Stacie Camirand. Stacie, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Great, Mike. How are you?
How are you? So, Stacie, I got to say, first and foremost, it's a pleasure and privilege because we've been talking about doing this. Now, here's what happened. We're conversating, we're talking pop culture. It's our nerdiness, it's the pop culture nerdiness that comes out. You were big into the hit clips. Growing up was the thing in the early 2000s, was the hit clips. Before all these streaming sites, before everything from YouTube, whatever, we had hit clips. How amazing were hit clips? Because I got to say, 30 seconds, but it was worth the 30 seconds.
Oh my God, they were my favorite thing ever. I mean, I'm a huge music lover and I always have been growing up. It's just been like big in my family. So I think music is a great way to bond. And honestly, me and my best friends, we used to exchange like clips all the time. Like I'd get one of my favorite song and I'd give it to my friend and be like, oh my God, you have to listen to this. So yeah, I mean, it was great just to listen to music yourself. But I think it was also an awesome way to bond with your friends and just, have a great big collection.
It's one of those things for me. Like I was a music lover, so 106.1 BLI, and I've told this story and I'll tell it to you here. So my parents used to work at BLI back in the day on Long Island, one of the biggest radio stations on Long Island, 106.1 BLI. I grew up with the radio, and the fact is, like, with CDs, everything from BLI, just in general, it's that time period where you had the 90s. Now, the boy bands were all the rage. You had the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, still do to this day, and it's absolutely amazing to see that. But, I mean, just growing up with that time period, I mean, for those who remember Columbia House Records, your FYEs, what have you, it's the little things like that that just make you reminisce and kind of miss the, what we used to have to what we have now.
Absolutely. I mean, nostalgia is a huge thing. You even see it now. Like I'm sitting in my room and right before I hopped on the Zoom, I had my record player going, I mean, yeah. So I think it's, just another one of those things. Obviously, like we have the technology now. We have so many streaming services, Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, everything. There's so many different platforms, but there's something about the nostalgia that just really brings you back to that time. Record players, and if I found my hit clips, I wish I had them. I don't anymore, but if I was able to find them, I guarantee you I'd be sitting here listening to them just like I do my record player.
See, that's what's cool, and I respect the hell out of that because I remember when Best Buy started like putting the record players back. Like that's just such a lost art form. I remember when Eminem when he did the Slim Shady LP, like the re-release of the Slim Shady LP, and it was on cassette, and everybody's looking like, why would you do it on cassette? Because like how many people had cassettes back in the day, and people that was the only like one of the main forms of listening to music besides records and CDs was a cassette. Like cassettes were all the rage.
Yeah, I literally remember listening to Eminem like on my Walkman. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it really just brings you back, especially for an artist like that who's been around through so many different just like advances and culture and the music industry itself and just technology in general. So I think something like that is super cool, super nostalgic. And for the longtime fans, it just really brings you back to that time when he was first coming up.
Agreed wholeheartedly. Now, I'm going to ask you first and foremost, because when it comes to Eminem, there's always been that debate. Because when he was angry, and we had songs like My Name Is, The Real Slim Shady Gonna Fucking Kill You, Ring, Ring, Ring. Chainsaws are coming out the wazoo.
Yeah.
We've had so many songs from Eminem with that rage. And then, as we got older, he got more calmer to a certain extent. So were you more a fan of the angry Eminem or the Eminem that we got in later years with Love the Way You Lie with Rihanna and all that stuff? Or are you just like,
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna say both. I think the angry Eminem is kind of what gripped me first. I think obviously the most consistent thing about Eminem is his lyrics, right? Like I think this might be a bold statement, but I think he's probably the greatest lyricist of our generation. If not the best, then definitely up there, top five. So I think we really saw that back in his angry days. I mean, obviously things like anger, fear, sadness, those are some of the deepest of the human emotions. So they're, super relatable, especially, an angsty teenager, like they're gonna, be able to relate to that, especially. So I think that's really how he got his like grips in society, a mix of that and having like these insane lyrics. And once you find that formula, you could kind of be as experimental as you'd like. And bottom line is he has the talent no matter what he does. So yeah, like I loved his super angsty, angry stuff in the beginning, but even the stuff he puts out now, it's obviously a lot more tamer compared to that, but still, he still manages to blow your mind.
It's one of those things where he's one of those guys, and you see it with all forms of music and all over facets of artists, right? They can do anything. And when it comes to Eminem, like for me, like one of the songs that really hit me, like if you remember from the Slim Shady LP, that song Rock Bottom. Everybody's
Hmm.
hit rock bottom, and he's talking about getting to that. You don't want to go to work, you don't want to do your job. It's stuff that really resonates with people. And I mean, even like songs like The Way I Am, because I am whatever you say I am. He doesn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Leave him alone. He's just trying to go to the bathroom. You want to have your, whatever, sign you an autograph. I mean, that contains to real life. And also that's the celebrity. That's the real life celebrity drama and stuff that they go through.
Absolutely. And I think songs like that just show how like grounded he is too. I mean, everyone knows his story. He came from dirt, he came from nothing. The worst, part of humanity that you can imagine for some people. And obviously he's a millionaire now, super successful, but as even like on the come up, songs like that, it just really showed like I think how humble he was and that he is just a person. Like, yeah, he's like insanely talented, he's a celebrity, but he's just a person. They deserve celebrities deserve some privacy too.
Agreed. And I think a lot of people kind of like don't even realize that. We would say like back in the day, but as we keep getting older, there's people that don't realize, space and boundaries. And then it's like, like, they're people like us. So just, we're all people at the end of the day. And especially with mental health at the forefront, my goodness, you know what I'm saying? That is so important peace of mind, especially nowadays, when back in the day, it's like, oh yeah, you got a problem, just you keep it in. You can't bottle that shit up. Now it's more like, you know what? Let's put it out there because mental health awareness is very key in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge mental health advocate, as you know. I know that you know that. I'm all about breaking the stigma. I think it's something that everybody should be talking about. I think it's something that everyone is affected by. Everyone has some degree of hurt, pain, anxiety, stress, something in their life. And while it might not be clinical, it's still along the lines of mental health issues. And I think that they should definitely be talked about. And I love when, artists bring that up in their music too. It's super, super important. So I love, the normalization of that and where we're headed towards right now.
Oh, agreed wholeheartedly. I mean, we see it in many cases where mental health was a thing, and I mean, we've seen tragedies, especially like this year will be, my goodness, like what, 22 years since we've had Columbine, the shooting at Columbine, and everybody
Oh
talks about what
my
those
God.
right? It's crazy to think about that, but it's like from what
Yeah.
we were in 1999 with those kids doing what they did. Obviously, there was some mental stuff going on. They were bullied, and that also just shows the effect from shootings, from just in general why we see so many kids and so many men and women with such untapped potential taking their lives. It's a sad thing to see, but it's great to see now that we're getting people, the help that they need, and also the fact it's like, hey, you got a platform, use your voice because the voice is very key in everything that we do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think cases like that are, super interesting to think of actually. I think the mentality has changed so much. I think, 22 years ago, it used to be, oh my God, the poor family. And, it doesn't matter how you raise a kid, anything could happen. But it really goes to show it's not just about your upbringing. There's so many other external factors. And yep, poor family, but also poor kid. Like they do horrible things, but a person doesn't just wake up one day and decide to do that. There's some sort of underlying mental illness. There's some sort of underlying disease, bullying, whatever it is. And you really have to take a look at that because it could be anybody, it could be your friend, it could be your neighbor, it could be, a family member, a classmate. You really just have to take a closer look at people and, watch how you treat people and also be there to listen to people. I think a lot of these heinous, violent acts could be avoided if people were just willing to listen and weren't so judgmental.
Oh, agreed wholeheartedly. Now, I've been very open with the fact that not too long ago, I was going through some personal issues. I was doing things that I shouldn't have. I was mixing a lot of pills. And I'll be honest with you, to put it bluntly on the show, I was miserable as fuck, to put it bluntly. And I put it as blunt as I can. And the reason why I
Hmm.
do that is to everybody, it's just like, if you have a problem, if you don't want to do therapy, because not therapy is not for everybody, but if you can help yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically, that's what you have to do. Now, that really is what you have to do. You have to really reflect and look deep inside yourself. And I think it's a lot of us can do that. I think we just have to take one step at a time. And I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, but at the end of the day, you better yourself and you better yourself for your peace of mind yourself. Because we got to be here, man. We got family, we got friends that need us. So I think it's very important just to appreciate that life is worth it in this thing that we call life as a whole.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Once you realize like how special life really is, then I think that's the bottom line that will, drive you through every day. Some days are super hard. You know, I know we've talked, I've been through my own stuff. Everyone that I know has been through something. Every single person that I know, even the most unsuspecting person, you know, has been depressed, has been down in the dumps, has been, you know, affected by mental illness and disease. And you know, like you said, I think that there's a different equation for everybody. I believe in therapy. I know plenty of people who don't. You could find solace, like you said, in spirituality and religion. Some people, it's just getting outside every single day and like looking at the sun and feeling the warmth of the light. There's something different for everybody, but you know, there's no one thing that's a cure all, but I think it's something that does affect everyone. So, you know, help comes in a lot of different ways. It's just getting the courage to ask for it. And once it's more normalized, and I think more and more people will ask, and hopefully eventually we could avoid tragedies like this happening.
I mean, I look at it from a stance too, like back in 2000, I was 8 years old. I'm a 90s baby here, Stacie. So, I mean, we're growing up in the 90s. It's 2000. The song is Papa Roach. It's called Last Resort. I'm going to say to you, to everybody right now, I love that song. And man, you're 8. You're screaming your lungs out. I'm running and I'm crying, for God's sake. Amazing song from that time period. Still holds up 21 years later. But at the end of the day, when you get older, you're just like, oh man, I can't believe what I was singing about. Because if you really look what that song's about, it's like, you don't know because you're 8, but as you get older, you're like, holy shit, right?
Yeah, like he's singing about suicide, like cutting himself. And like, yeah, I was a kid. I was 96, so I was what, 4, 5 at the time. And I'm literally screaming the lyrics. Like I remember in my dad's pickup truck, like on the way to sporting events as if it's nothing. But yeah, I mean, this is the music that we grew up with, music that I still hold, you know, near and dear to heart, still listen to all the time. And now that I look back on the lyrics that I was singing, I'm like, holy crap, like these were deep, dude. And they're still relatable, you know? So mental illness has been here forever. It's just now we're actually talking about it.
Stace, why you gotta make me feel old with that, man? You're born in 96, I'm born in 92. Why you gotta make me feel old on my own?
Sorry, dude, it's only 4 years. It's only a 4-year difference.
Still, man, I'm gonna be hitting the 3-0 next year, man. And you're just talking about, oh yeah, I was born in 96. Woo, friggin'.
All right, well, you know what? I'm turning 25 this year, so I'm about to have my quarter life crisis. So we'll both go through it this year.
Crisis. I like your style. Okay. Quarter life crisis over here. But no, I mean, I look at it from a stance too. Like, I mean, that actually happens with like a lot of songs, right? Like we don't realize it when we're young. And then as we get older, we like see it, whether it be like something dirty or something like that. Like, I'll be honest with you. I remember hearing, okay, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm going to bring this to the forefront. There was a boy band that lasted like 15 minutes of fame, like legit, like 50 minutes of fame. Do you remember B4-4? Do you remember them?
I definitely remember the name, but I can't remember any of the songs, who was in it.
So for those that don't remember B4-4, their big hit was called Get Down. If you get down on me, I'll get down on you. And one of the lyrics was, I'm gonna make you come tonight, pause over to my house. It's a song about oral sex.
So that just came rushing back to me.
So it's and his puka shells. Oh my God, don't get me started on the puka shells. So
oh my God. I have those hanging from my rearview mirror in my car.
Really? Okay.
I do.
But yeah, I mean, that's what we had in the early 2000s. And I mean, look at Next, for God's sake, the R&B front, Too Close, Baby When We're Grinding, I Get So Excited. Like that came out when I was 5. Like you, like 96, you're what, like 2? So I mean, hey, we grew up with this R&B, all this stuff, but you also have to understand it's that music changes from the 90s to what we have now. Like, I'll be honest, I remember, so as a professional wrestling fan, remember when Girls Gone Wild was all the rage and, you know, you saw the commercials every night, like Girls Gone Wild was everywhere, right?
Yep.
So that stuff, if anyone nowadays would saw that, that would be like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because that was the early 2000s. In 2021, it's a little bit different with what we're going up with society and the generation now, where it's just kind of like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? We really look back to see what we had back in the day, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It reflects them differently with today's generation.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even music like in the early 2000s, it's so funny. I was just driving with my friend the other day, and I have a pop throwback playlist from all songs from maybe like 2002 to like 2009. Growing up, Britney Spears was like my idol. So I'm singing some of the songs off her Circus album, and like one of the choruses for the song If You Seek Amy, it literally says like F-U-C-K me. And like here I am at like 11 years old screaming the lyrics in my mom's car on the way to soccer practice. I'm like, oh my God, did she not realize like what I was saying back then? Or like Rihanna, like she had literally a whole song about S&M, and I'm like, I'm in middle school. I have no idea what this means, but yeah, I'm hollering the lyrics out the window as we're driving.
God dang, with your S&M. Okay, all right, I'll one up you on this. So growing up, there was a rapper by the name of Shine, Shyn. For those that remember Shine, he was around like the Bad Boy Records clique when you had Puff Daddy, when he was Puff Daddy before he was Diddy and P Diddy and a man of many names, whatever, Sean Combs. So his boy Shine had a song called That's Gangsta. And the lyric says this, that's gangsta. My mother literally came out to me and started yelling like I was going to go like blow some shit up. I was going to gun everybody down. Like I was a gangsta. And I'm like, no, I'm just singing the song. So, I mean, hey, it has a different interpretation, but still at the end of the day, as a parent, you don't want your kids hearing this. So, I mean, it's good parenting though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just so funny how like you don't realize what you were singing back then. But now, we listen to the songs that we used to scream the lyrics and listen to, and it's like, wow, if only I knew what I was saying back then, I would have been embarrassed in front of my parents. Hello.
Yep. Now, with the addition of hit clips that we had back in the day, and today is now with the YouTubes and all these streaming, I got to say this right now. Do you ever feel like, the art form of just going out and buying a CD, like FYE, Best Buy? Like, I remember going to the Wiz when the Wiz was on Long Island on Bayshore, right? Like, yep. Do you think that's kind of like a lost art now? And people don't realize like how good like we had it growing up, just buying the CDs because now everything's streaming. Like, do you think that it's a lost art to just go out and buy a CD, right?
Absolutely. There's so many examples of that I think of all the time, from music to books. I remember going to a Harry Potter book launch when I think I was like in middle school, maybe even like late elementary school. I stayed up until midnight. I was waiting outside of not Barnes and Noble, but Borders in Comac, because that used to exist. That's shut down now, but they had like a huge not like reveal, but like book release party is the word that I'm looking for. Or like when movies first came out, like people would literally, again, for the Harry Potter movies, like they would dress up full, in full costume, and at midnight they would go to the theaters. And that now that you stream everything, you just don't get that anymore. Even like video games. November 11th, 2011, I was waiting online at Best Buy to get my copy of Skyrim when it came out. Like I'm sorry, not Best Buy, GameStop. But it's definitely like a lost art, and that was just so much like anticipation and excitement, and now everything is just at your fingertips, and you could just wake up the next morning and be like, oh yeah, this came out, I'm gonna listen to it. It's so much different than like going to the store with everyone else who's there for the exact same reason that you are. And it's the whole socialization aspect of that and the anticipation and excitement, it just completely lost now, and it's sad. I miss those days.
Same. And now I'm going to say this right now, and here's the time length, and you realize this as I'm about to say this sentence. The last time I officially bought a CD was actually in 2013 at Best Buy. Do you know what CD I purchased, Miss Stacie Camirand?
Oh my gosh, I'm scared. You're gonna age me. What is it?
Justin Timberlake's The 2020 Experience Part 1 and 2. I'm on my suit and tie shit, baby. You know what I'm saying? Take back the night, right? You don't even realize that that's freaking 7 years ago already, and that's still the bomb.
Wow. I just I could picture myself where I remember people going and like buying that CD, and I could like picture myself in my life like that many years ago. Wow, it feels like a lifetime ago now that you think about it.
Exactly. I mean, for God's sake, one of my favorite songs that he had on that album, you remember You've Got It On? It sounds like falling in love right now. Like just the lyrics and the harmony, it fits. And also, I remember when Justin moved away from NSYNC, talk about Like I Love You, and he was talking about Rock Your Body. Like Justified was an amazing album. Then you got Sexy Back. Like that's layers upon layers of, that's why he's the Prince of Pop. Had decades with NSYNC, had decades as a solo career. He really changed the game in the solo aspect.
Absolutely. I honestly don't think we've had like a boy band, like a popular boy band, since like One Direction. And I don't know. I was in early high school at the time, and it's kind of weird. Like back in the day, the boy bands, even like girls in college were like obsessed with NSYNC, but here I am in high school listening to One Direction. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm too old for this. And it's like weird. It's just weird that like older guys like catering music to young girls. I don't know. I kind of feel like we lost the audience for that. But yeah, I totally remember, the boy band days. And I feel like that was just such a staple of the music industry. And it's kind of weird to think that like we don't really have that anymore.
It's funny because like, again, going back to cassettes, I had the first Backstreet Boys album, Quit Playing Games in My Heart, All I Have to Give, Everybody, Backstreet's Back. All right. Like that
Yep.
on CD and cassettes. And then they moved to the Millennium album, which is one of their best, and the Black and Blue. And they're still doing their thing. Now, how awesome is that we've seen on the TikTok front? Here's, Chris Kirkpatrick, here's AJ McLean, there's Joey Fatone, there's Lance Bass. They're all now collaborating with each other. And after having that beef on like Jive Records with Lou Pearlman and the whole story that went into that, it's amazing to see the competition, and now they're all cool and they're doing the damn thing together.
Back together, yeah. And that reminds me, like, I remember Jonas Brothers back in the day. They were a huge thing. Obviously, they stopped music for a while, but now they're back. They're making music, but it's like adult music now. Like back in 2019, me and my sister actually went to the Jonas Brothers reunion tour, Happiness Now, or like whatever the album was called, and it was just such like a juxtaposition from back when I went to like a Jonas Brothers concert when I was in middle school, and it's just a bunch of screaming teenagers, and now like everyone is older in the crowd, like getting drunk and like listening to the same band. So that's definitely a band that I think kind of like grew with us too. But yeah, they took a hiatus for a while, and now they're back together making music, and it's just crazy.
Hey, well, music brings everybody back together. I mean, you can take your hiatus from it, but you never miss performing that music and making that art and applying your craft, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to date you back here because, I mean, I know it still goes on Long Island. Summer Jam is one of my absolute favorites at Jones Beach. I went to those and I went to Winter Jam. Have you ever been to those two? Because I know those are very popular at Jones Beach.
Yeah, I've been to Summer Jam. I haven't been to Winter Jam, but I went to the Jingle Ball that Z100, I think, used to host it at, I believe it was MSG.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the thing, like when I first went to Summer Jam was probably like, oh my God, early 2000s, like when Shaggy had It Wasn't Me, which is still popular till this day. Like you had Shaggy, you had, remember Daniel Bedingfield, Natasha's brother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was on that. Greg from Dream Street. Now this is before Jesse McCartney was Jesse McCartney with Beautiful Soul. He was in Dream Street. Like right. Greg was there. There was a lot of people there around that time and as well. And I mean, okay, No Authority. Do you remember No Authority? They were like very, oh, I've been east, I've been west, I've been all around the world. I've never seen a girl like you. I've seen blondes, I've seen brunettes, really some hot redheads, but I've never seen a girl like you. Can I get your number, baby? Like that stuff right there. I could sing the whole lyrics, but it's 21 years later of a song like that, like so simplistic. Like that's what music song kind of needs in more days, just simplistic lyrics, get straight to the point,
Yeah, I think it's just super interesting, like especially if you look at the progression of music. I think you especially see this with how SoundCloud as a platform has grown. There's just so many different subgenres of music. Like back in the day, it used to be like pop, rock, country, metal, heavier metal, and like rap, hip hop, R&B. Like that was it. Now there's subgenres and there's like genres like colliding and like making new genres within themselves. And it's crazy. I feel like a lot of the pop music definitely used to have like a lot of the same type of lyrics, like a little bit, kind of pandering, especially with like boy bands. But now there's just so much creativity, even with the production of music and how like everything comes together. It's just super interesting to like watch that progression. Like I feel like you especially see it with how SoundCloud gained popularity. It kind of just skyrocketed since then.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And I mean, SoundCloud is great for podcasts, for music in general. And you know what it is? It's so underrated with platforms. And here's why I used to laugh at it, because every time I would see like a freestyle or something, it would be SoundCloud because everybody wants to rap and be a rapper. So you would see that now, and then the term SoundCloud rapper comes into fruition. But at the end of the day, it's a great platform for people. And so many platforms are. And I mean, that's the bonus and that's the plus of what social media has given us over the years.
Yeah, for sure. It's just super cool, and I love that like everyone could be an artist, everyone could be creative, everyone could like put their stuff out there. You don't need to have access to like this huge recording studio. All you need is a laptop, an iPad, your phone, even whatever it is. Everyone could be an artist and everyone could put their best creative foot forward, and anyone could really gain the recognition that they deserve that way.
Oh, wholeheartedly. And I look at it from a stance too. I mean, we're in spooky season now, Miss Stacie Camirand. It's Halloween. It's one of the
my favorite season.
Okay. All right. Now with you, how many times are you going to have Halloween Town on repeat? Little Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. What's the movies looking like for you, man? The marathons.
I started watching Halloween Town on August 1st. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm a huge, I know people are going to judge me for that, whatever. I'm a huge like horror Halloween, not whatever. My Halloween tradition is I'll put the Halloween movie series on repeat on Halloween day, and I'll just like chill in my living room, eating candy, watching Michael Myers stab some people. But I'm like that kind of psychopath where like I could be alone, turn all the lights off, like go into my basement, whatever, and like watch like a horror movie by myself, and then just go to and sleep like a baby for the rest of the night.
So you're that chick, just watching all the scary movies, nothing, just passing out right after that. You know what I'm saying? You're that type of psycho level right up here.
Absolutely. I'm like, if there's like a level beyond that, like I'm up here.
Okay, now they say Christmas in June or Christmas in July. You start Christmas early, Halloween in August. We got to coin that now with your.
Halloween in August.
Yep.
Yep.
But no, I mean that's cool because I mean with Halloween, like I grew up obviously the Halloween movies, and I have not seen Halloween Kills yet. But don't spoil it for me. I hear good things. Have you seen it yet or no?
I actually haven't, believe it or
Okay.
not.
So I've been hearing about this, and I definitely am going to see it. But I mean, I think the only Halloween one that everybody talks about was it the one with Busta Rhymes, the Resurrection one that came out in '02. Everybody talks about how horrible that one was.
Yeah, I watched it like back in the day, but I think it was so bad that I just blocked it out of my memory.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of movies like that, and I've talked about it on the show before. Jennifer's Body, the one with Megan Fox. I mean, people crap on it, but I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a certain level of bad. Like me and my best friend in high school, we used to have a sleepover every Friday night, and back when Netflix just launched as a streaming platform. So like I had Netflix when it was you would just order DVDs to your house, right? And then they kind of embodied the streaming platform, but they didn't have good movies to start. Like they had B movies, C movies, D movies. Like they had some of the worst movies that you could imagine. And here we are in high school on a Friday night, like in the middle of the fall, winter, we had nothing to do. So we would just scroll through the horrible movies on Netflix and we would watch. I think I've seen almost every single D movie that you could possibly think of. So you have The Room, which James Franco wound up producing or directing, whatever he did, a remake of that. But there was this movie called Troll 2, which I don't know if you've heard of it. It's another one of the I think it was deemed like the worst movie of all time, but like it's so bad that you can't look away, and it's just hilarious. And there's a bunch of like D like horror movies like that too, like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. There's Chud. There's Leprechaun, or I forget the exact name, but you see them a lot with horror movies. So we used to watch those all the time. And now, again, for like a nostalgic feel, sometimes I'll find like a bootleg version somewhere on the internet, and I'll just sit down and watch one of those.
Okay, so I mean, you're really going deep with that. With your Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, yeah, like your style. Okay, so
Yeah.
deep into the realms of horror and the deep of the D-list horror movies. So I remember seeing. All right, I Spit on Your Grave was something that they had back in the '70s. It was a very popular horror movies in the '70s. I have seen the newer versions. All I'm going to say right now is it's pretty much the same plot of she's like a model. She gets kidnapped. There's going to be a private part being chopped off. And then that's pretty much it. She goes, of course, this one over here. But yes, it's true. You're going to see a lot of that in horror movies. I mean, that's what we get. I think when Lindsay Lohan tried to do, oh my God, what was it? I Know Who Killed Me in 2002, where she was like playing a twin. Oh, like, no, I couldn't take that one. I know Jim Carrey tried to do the number 23, and I couldn't look at it the same because I'm thinking Jim Carrey, Liar, Liar, Ace Ventura, all these comedies, The Mask, and then he does
The Mask. Oh my God, I remember that. Yeah. You know what I found on Netflix the other day, actually? When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the Goosebumps series. They had books, and they had they came out on VHS, and every single week I used to make my parents go to Blockbuster, and I would rent a new, Goosebumps movie. And they have it on Netflix right now. I think they have a couple, but the one that I was watching was the one that like scarred me as a kid. It was called like The Mask or something like that. This girl, she wanted to scare her classmates because they used to scare her all the time. So for Halloween, she got this mask from like this really creepy, sketchy shop like in her town, and she puts it on, and turns out like she can't get the mask off, and the mask like becomes a part of her body. I had nightmares for days as a child because of that, but now I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, this is like so poorly made, but like as a kid that scared the crap out of me.
I mean, what we had, like The Ring was very popular. You're going to die in 7 days. Like that was all the rage at a time period as well. I mean, there's a lot of them, man. And I mean, for me, well, the Paranormal Activities were a thing, but there were like 5, 6 of them, and then it just got like old like really quick.
Yeah, there's actually another one coming out this year. I thought they stopped making them, but I just saw a commercial for it. But Paranormal Activity was super interesting because of the way that they marketed that. So there had never really been like point of view horror movie before, so it really left you wondering, oh my God, like this looks like actual footage. Is this real? Is it a movie? And they really played that up during the marketing. So like they had commercials that literally showed the audience reactions to like this horrifying footage. So I remember being 12 years old, like walking to the theater, like getting ready to watch this. Scared the crap out of me. Same thing with Blair Witch Project. That was probably the second biggest movie besides Paranormal Activity to kind of take on like that point of view filming aspect. And that just added like a whole other layer of like creepiness because you felt like that you were in the movie and experiencing it yourself.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And I think also around that time okay, now here's another one that's had like almost around the same amount of movies as Paranormal Activity. Like the Final Destination movies were always cool because it's like, oh, he sees it's going to happen. Here's a destruction on a bridge. Here's the destruction on a plane, the roller coaster, what have you. Very interesting, you know what I'm saying? Different plots. And we see a lot of that when people have premonitions and people see something bad's going to happen, and it does, you know. So, I mean, that was also kind of interesting from that series. And one was in 3D, for God's sake.
Yeah, and those were interesting too because a lot were like super realistic scenarios. I remember, I don't remember which Final Destination it was, but there was a bridge that like went over the water that just collapsed. And for the longest time, I was scared to like drive over bridges because I was like, oh my God, I remember this in Final Destination. And there was another one that like there was a woman laying on an acupuncture table and like she fell off the table, and I can't remember like if the room went on fire, like what it was, but like the needles like went through her, and it's just, you know, super like regular scenarios that just like go bad, and when it's relatable like that, that just makes it even more creepy.
I mean, it's like in Final Destination 3 when the girl's in the tanning salon, and then you know, like you don't want to go get a tan for a while because you saw it in Final Destination, right?
Exactly, yeah, like it really like inhibits you from doing normal things because it sticks with you.
It does. And I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. That's is what is great as far as the movies front. Now I mentioned the Halloween towns, and I'm gonna mention this to you as well because Disney Plus is all the rage. We're DCOM lovers, the Disney Channel original movies. Two of my favorites and also around this time. I loved Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, and I loved The Phantom of the Megaplex around the time that
Yep.
Halloween came out. Now, man, how like do those movies like really stand the test of time? Again, we're talking about 21 years later. But Caroline Ray, who was also on Sabrina at the time, you had Charles
Yes.
Plessy, who was on The Nanny, and I mean, you have that movie was just, and before Robert Carradine was Lizzie McGuire's dad, but that movie was that movie was so like, you know, it was cheesy, but at the same time, it's like, you know, vampires, and just, you know, he wants to marry Caroline Ray, wants to be with her and make her like an undead bride type of thing. Like it was a very cool scenario that really worked with the teens on Disney Channel back in the day.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely like a unique idea too. Because I'm trying to think right now. I don't remember any other movies that really had that same premise. Now those are some movies that I haven't seen since, you know, I was a kid. I don't even know where to find those. I don't know if they're on Disney Plus. So I don't know if they'll stand the test of time. But even if they don't, it just brings you back to like when you were a kid watching that, and just that like nostalgic feeling really, you know, sticks with you. And even if the movie's bad, at least you're like, wow, like I remember how I felt as a kid watching this, and you can still enjoy the moment that way.
It's like Don't Look Under the Bed with the Boogeyman. You know what I'm saying? Like that one.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Now I'm gonna ask you because the Halloween Town stuff, like love the movies, but everybody always goes back to how Return to Halloween Town. No Kimberly J. Brown. It was Sarah Paxton. And they talk about that as the worst one in the whole four of them, if you will. What is your favorite Halloween Town?
I mean, it's gonna sound basic, but like the OG, the original, has to be my favorite. I mean, it's what gripped you into the series, and I don't know. To me, it stands out the most. I kind of feel that way with like a lot of movie series, though. Like I feel like it's hard to beat the original movie, and eventually it feels so tangential. Like the more movies you add to the series, and it kind of slips away from you a little bit, you know.
I mean, the original when they're going against Calabar and they're in Halloween Town, that's cool. And then you get to the second one, it's like, okay, the son wants revenge. He turns the whole town gray, and it's very basic. And it's like, okay, I get it. But there's something about it's like, you know what? Just them having the Halloween Town, the presence, and everybody's so happy and jovial and joyful. Like, there's just something about that scene that really sticks into your mind. So I would agree on the OG. It's very cliche, but it's very true.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, like from some of the other movies, there's some scenes that stick out, and you know that might resonate a little bit more. But it's hard to beat the original movie, in my opinion.
Hey, I mean, and Boy Meets World is still one of my favorite shows. And then there was Sean episode, the Halloween, where just everything that's encompassed in that from Halloween movies around the 90s still holds up. And I'm going to say it right now. Makes me laugh every time, that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't love that?
Well, that's the thing too. And I'm going to say this right now. Like, did you watch Girl Meets World a little bit on Disney or not really?
I didn't at all.
I tried because, Daniel Fishel and Topanga and the gang from the 90s. And I'm just like, it's not the same. It was great to see the cameos, but I'm just like, no, it's not the same as the 7 seasons that we saw in the 90s. You give it a try. It's like that. I mean, Full House and Fuller House, people will say what they will, but it's like the OG Full House, and then they're all grown up and they have kids and, the whole nine. There's great story, but it's just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It kind of balances a little bit.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was going to bring up that same series. I think reunions are huge right now, and I think what Friends did, that was the right way to have a reunion. You're not trying to like reboot the series. You're looking at the actors now and how they're kind of looking back on their time at the show, maybe some background info, and you get to see them kind of recreate scenes now. But I find that shows that try to reboot what they once had just loses its original charm. So I really like the way that Friends did their reunion. I thought that was very clever.
It's also like when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, they had everybody watching like the old scenes and talking about their time. And I will say this right now, I cried like a baby when they showed Uncle Phil, James Avery, because you see Will Smith bawling, everybody's bawling. It touches your heart. It touches your right ear.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like he was all of our dads, like we all felt that loss. Super sad. We can all relate to that one.
Of course. And I mean, that's the thing. Now, everybody, like we were talking about, everybody wants to do like a reboot. It's like some things you just got to leave them alone. And I'll say that right now. Sometimes you just got to just leave stuff alone. You really do.
That's how I feel about all these live action remakes. Like, I was all for it at first. I was like, wow, how exciting. But I've never been like thoroughly impressed by one of them. Like Disney's doing a lot of them. So I think it was The Jungle Book or Tarzan, I can't remember, or maybe I saw both, and I thought like, all right, those were decent. And then I don't know, I did not like the Aladdin one. Mulan was one of my favorite movies growing up. I used to watch that on repeat like every day, and I'm like, you know what, I loved that so much that I don't want to be disappointed by the live action remake, so I didn't even watch that one.
See, that's the thing with me too. Like you mentioned Milan and movies like that. Like everybody loves Christina Aguilera. When will my reflection show? That scene, that movie, like it stands the test of time. And then they have to make like an action movie. Like I'll say this right now, Christmas Carol will stand the test of time with the overall movie aspect and just the overall story behind Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Now, Jim Carrey did the animated version of it back in, again, we're talking about like mid 2010s, right?
Right.
It was okay, but I mean, like you had a Muppets Christmas Carol, you've had so many Christmas carols, and Disney does an animated version of it. I'm like, it's okay, but it's like it doesn't live up to what we've seen of many Christmas Carol remakes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like beating the horse to death. Like if something is so successful, then in my opinion, just like leave it as it is. Don't try to like milk the hell out of it. This is how I felt when Elf came out with a musical. Elf is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. I've seen it so many times that if you put a gun to my head and you were like, recite, any movie word for word, I could confidently recite Elf word for word. But they tried to make it into a musical, and I'm like, why? Like, why are you doing? Like, I know it was so successful, and it had just the right amount of cheesy with just the right amount of comedy, and you had like a great lead with Will Ferrell, and you still had the Christmas charm, but some things are just better left untouched.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, but like it's the little nuances. Like when he answers the phone, Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? That's funny. And everybody be like, well, what's so funny about that? The way he answered the phone. Like, Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? That whole thing in The Office where you're an elf, where the little guy comes in, the dude from Game of Thrones. Like, come on. Like, it's funny. It's simpler times. And I'll tell you a funny story about that. So when we were in school, we were on a field trip and we were going to the Iceland movie theater, right? So they gave us a choice. Do you want to go see Elf? Or do you want to go see Cat in a Hat with Mike Myers? And the Cat in a Hat won. And I was so pissed.
Wow, I'd be pissed too. That wasn't even a good movie.
It wasn't a good movie. Like Alec Baldwin, Mike Myers, and I love the Cat in the Hat, the book. Movie, not so much. It was terrible.
Yeah, again, like these live action things that just don't need to be done, but here we are. And I think a great example is Cats. Look what happened with Cats, okay?
Oh, don't get me started.
James Corden Big, like that's probably one of the biggest flops of our time, or like of recent times. I mean, it was terrible.
It was awful. It was just so bad. No. And here's the thing too. Like I remember like Russell Brand did a remake of Arthur, the classic 80s movie with Dudley Moore that was excellent. And then he did it and I'm like, you just killed the classic. And that's the common phrase. They kill a classic. They kill
Yep,
it. Just put it to
they
the
do.
ground. And that's the thing with many movies, but still at the end of the day, these are movies and TVs, and even if it's good or bad, that really stick out with us. And that's what makes nostalgia and just life great.
For sure. And it's great. I mean, some of these movies just have such a cult, following, and I can see why they would want to try to expand and do different things. But, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what is very cool, though, because I know you're a huge hockey fan. And me, everybody knows I'm a music and wrestling guy. Daniel Bryan, now Bryan Danielson on AEW, gave you the yes chance for the Islanders, the yes chance that stand the test of time. So there's a nice little mix and blend there that always goes together.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, especially with hockey. There's like a lot of crossover between like, wrestling and hockey. And I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I don't know a whole lot about wrestling, but I have a ton of hockey fans hockey friends, sorry, who are also fans of wrestling. And there's a lot of chants that in at least in Islanders culture, I could speak to that come from wrestling. So like we have section 329, the Blue and Orange Army. They are responsible for a lot of the chants that go around, and used to be Nassau Coliseum, will now be UBS Arena. Super excited. But I know that they get some of their chants from wrestling. Like they have 316, like the time is 316. Could I get a hell yeah? I think that comes from Stone Cold Austin, right?
Stone Cold Steve Austin, yep.
Yep.
Yep,
So,
the whole genre of Austin 316. Now, do you know how the 316 came into fruition?
I honestly don't. I have no idea.
All right, now here's where you'll laugh at this. So for those who, wrestling fans will know this, but for those who are new, Austin 316 was all the rage in the 90s, a part of the Attitude Era. So Stone Cold Steve Austin beats Jake the Snake Roberts in the final of the King of the Ring 1996. Now, Jake Roberts was going through his problems at the time. He got religious. He was all about the faith. So Stone Cold gets interviewed by Doc Hendricks, who was the interview at the time, and he goes, "You simp here and you thump your Bibles, it didn't get you anywhere. Talk about your songs, talk about your John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whooped your ass," and that's what 3:16
Wow, I love that. I can't believe I never knew that. I love that story. That's hilarious.
You got to see the promo. I'll send it to you when we're done. But just Austin 3:16 says I just whooped your ass turned into Austin 3:16 on shirts, merchandise everywhere. So that's where the 3:16 comes from, with Austin 3:16.
That's incredible. And I don't know, I love the crossover between different sports. It's awesome, in my opinion.
Oh, agreed. Like with wrestling and mixed martial arts, you see so many people from wrestling, like CM Punk dabbled into MMA, Brock Lesnar. You see so many people who want to coincide in different sports, which I think is cool. I mean, back in the day with the 90s, with the original Space Jam, you saw Michael Jordan go from the Chicago Bulls and, hey, I want to play baseball. Nothing wrong with that. It's the same with music. Like I remember Kid Rock did some rock, a little rap, and then, hey, let me do some country. You know what I'm saying? It works. You know what I'm saying? It's a nice blend for everybody.
Yeah, it does. Everyone's got to find their niche, just got to find what works for you. I mean, even our captain, Anders Lee, he played both football and hockey in college, and he really could have went to either one. And, you look back on that now, and I can't imagine the Islanders without Anders Lee.
Hey, I'm going to say this right now. I've seen your tweets of your Anders Lee and your Ollie, man. I know what's up with you on the Twitter front there, man. Always going on with that Ollie, 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 man. I mean, I feel you, man. He's a great player. So I had to bring that in. You're like Queen Ollie on the social media front for the Islanders. I got to give you a love.
Ollie Wally Trolley. I'm repping the brand right now, actually. The Ollie Wally Trolley t-shirt from
Nice.
Yes Men Outfitters is my favorite shirt that I own. I love Oliver Wahlstrom. I knew from the second, he came up to this league that he was going to be huge. And I'm super excited to see what happens with him this season. He just has such a great game. I love his quick release. He's confident. He's not afraid to shoot. I think he's exactly what this team needs, and I think he's going to show up for us in a big way this year.
It's amazing to see, and I look forward to seeing what the Islanders do. And I got to say, there's another plus in social media, man. When you want some Ollie Wally Charlie, you go to the lovely Miss Stacie Camirand over here doing your thing. You go.
I try to give the fans what they want.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I love Oliver Wahlstrom. Isles Twitter is just such a great space to be in. There's so many great people there. The whole Islanders fan base community in general, there's just nothing like it.
All right. Hey, my dumbass pop culture brand. I went from Ollie Wally Trolley and almost went Roly Poly Oly. For those who remember Playhouse Disney, I almost went the Roly Poly Oly route with that.
Oh my God, I remember that too. Wow.
Right? But hey, that's the amazing things that we see as kids to sports and just in everything in general that makes this thing that we call life, my friend. And I will say this, from hit clips, from everything pop culture, we discussed a lot in today's platform and forum. So Stacie, I'm going to say right now, thank you so much for your time. And we'll definitely do a round 2 of this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I had a blast.
You are very welcome. And before we close this out, man, you got some plugging to do, social media front. Let everybody know where they can find you. The links will be in the description below the show.
All right, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I'm Stacie Camirand. My Twitter handle is at Stacie Camirand, STACIE CAMIRAND. My Instagram is Stace in Your Face. And if you want an Ollie Wally Trolley shirt like mine, which you should totally hop on the trolley, you can get it at yesmanoutfitters.com.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question because all the links will be in the description, but I got to ask you a question now, which you come on the trolley. Is that like when the Quad City DJs had come on Ride That Train and Ride It Choo Choo? We're just getting on the trolley now with the Ollie Wally trolley. Is that like a flip the script on the come on Ride the Train and Ride It?
Yes, honestly, if I knew how to do like sound or video editing, I would literally replace the word train with trolley and like be posting that all over my social media. So I'm actually trying to learn how to like do things like, editing wise, so I could figure out how to make the song sound like that. And once I figure it out, you will be seeing it everywhere.
Come on, ride the trolley and ride it. I mean, come on, I got you. But yeah,
absolutely.
So Miss Stacie Camirand, do you have any final words for the people before we close the show out, man? The floor is yours.
Oh gosh, I'm on the spot here. No, I mean, it's just, it's crazy how, I feel like we talked a lot about nostalgia today. It's crazy to, think how fast time moves. We touched a lot of different subjects today. Really just like enjoy the moment that you're in, be there for your friends, and let's go Islanders.
And my final words would be stay united, not divided. And please follow Stacie on Twitter. She provides a lot of great insight with the New York Islanders and just in general, man. I got to say, every time I see you, Miss Stacie in Your Face, which I love that, by the way, I got to say, every time I see you, always providing that beautiful imagery that is your lovely face, and you're doing the damn thing. Got to give you love and respect.
Thank you very much. Try my best every day.
You're very welcome. That's all we can do in this thing that we call life, folks. So for Stacie Camirand, my name is Mike Larkin, and thank you guys for tuning into another edition of the Pop Culture History Podcast. And like my mindset, and as I always say, beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. Miss Stacie Camirand, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.